Okay, we should be back now. That's probably why it's fucked up. How's that? I gotta go to Streamlabs and set up the sub sounds that I had. Unless it's already in. That's why I went to check, but then it died. Yeah, my memory's at like 59%. So if my single stick of RAM gets overloaded, my computer will crash. It's good to know. Do I have to? Okay, yeah, I'm gonna have to reset everything here. Dodge Charger 1. Yeah, that's why.
Dodge Charger.
Yep, I need to change everything. At least you'll be able to listen to this banger music. Gotta take a bit. I did buy food, so it's getting delivered to me. Crash. Oh, Crash. That's such a good song. But yeah, I'm always wondering why I'm spinning my cursor and my mouse is like stuttering. But the reason for that is because of the single stick of RAM. I don't know if I fucked up the dual channel, but I think it's just because it's too slow. Because I looked up the compatibility for this GPU, the RAM, and the stick of RAM that I have right now actually works with only one of them. So I bought the same version of Corsair Vengeance DDR5. It's just I need slower. It's sad, but if I fucked up the slot, then that'd be really stupid. much my computer can run before it's gonna be like, oh shit, it's dead now. Nyampasu raid, oh no. Do we even have any? Oh no, I do. Sub jazz hands. And Megalab. And Ame. There it is. And now for the sub from Lurpy. There it is. And the raid doesn't work. Guess why we I think I have to go to Frame Labs. What the fuck? Test raid. Literally no. Beans? Oh yeah, beans.
You eat all my beans?
That's definitely the one. So that works. So with all this stuff, I have to change because the file name for the directory of these has been changed. So, I mean, it's not that bad, but it's definitely something. And I mean, wow. Everything's fixed though, so it's good. Okay, resub. Test donation. That works. The one thing is, I want to try and get my, fuck. I'm trying to get my one... Okay, that was... There it is. That was delayed. Yeah, it's all delayed. I got a copyright claim. I don't care. Need another pop out. That's why I have all these fucking browsers open. I have all these browsers open and my goddamn one single stick of RAM is just suffering. How much am I pulling? Oh, it's 60% out of 16 sticks of just a single stick. Yeah, it's 5,600. And I'll be downgrading to 4,600 or 4,800. That is so bad. I'm surprised my GPU isn't getting used a lot. That's cool. The one thing I do need to change in here is the once I order my food, I'll just be watching videos. Oh, it's here. Okay, I'll be right back. Enjoy the music. I got it. Holy shit. Hold on, I'll be right back. We got motherfucking pizza. Oh, that's messed up.
Me. That on street BT.
Oh. I can't do it with restream.
Me and Frank are good.
I was wondering why. That works. Might as well. That makes sense. Okay. So now my my memory dropped down by 10%.
Memes.
I actually watched this for a bit.
All right, we're about to react to medical, I guess they're not medical, dog memes. And I brought my good friend Bear. Bear, you're gonna laugh at these, right? Yeah, you're gonna laugh at them. Memes, high five? Oh, you almost punched me. Other high five? Yeah, memes, high five. Where do you see yourself in 20 years? Me turning into a dog. Honestly, I think owners look like their dogs. I don't know how that is true because we're not related to our dogs, but maybe our selections are based off that. So do you think I look like this? Do I look like you? Look for the girl with the broken smile. This is one heck of a broken smile. When the doctor takes an x-ray of my heart. Oh, it's a little wiener dog. I love wiener dogs. They're so cute. They have so much personality. They do yap a little bit too much. They do kind of ignore your commands. But otherwise, they're really sweet. They love to snuggle. And honestly, medically, I would say you have cardiomyopathy. Wienermegaly. Cardiomegaly means you have an enlarged heart. Wienermegaly means you have a large... Friend, it's a short trip. Pack only what you need. Me, the dog. Bear, you always want to go in the suitcase, but you can't fit. I searched for my dog for 20 minutes. Oh my God. That's literally Bear. Bear, this is you. Bear looks like a bear rug on the floor most times. Do you remember when Bear was little? He used to lay on my lap like this and I could just pet him like that. Now his head's bigger than his whole actual body. Borkers, Yorkers, Boofers, Yippers, Yoofers, Woofers. I understand what a yipper is. They're kind of like yippy dogs. A Yoofer I kind of get too. They go woof. Borkers go woof. Bear, you would be in the mix of a boofer and a borker. I would ask him to bark, but I'm like 99% sure he won't do it. Bear, if I had treats, you'd listen to me. You have 1 hour to eat 500 nuggets. Who do you choose to help you? Honestly, I think if I put out 500 nuggets, Bear eats all of them in a minute, 47 seconds. I wish we could test it in a healthy way, but we probably can't without hurting Bear. What's your ideal work environment?
Bro,
Yes, honestly, Bear sitting, but
this
not on my
fucking
lap.
pop-up
He's too
isn't
heavy for it. He'll break
working.
the chair. We just weighed him in at 130 the other day. Him sitting at my feet, keeping my feet warm, that's the way to go. Lost dog. Doesn't bark much, well-behaved, likes Metallica. This reminds me of Friends when they used to have the pet duck. Oh, look, it's, I forgot the name
There
of
it
this
is.
dog. It's a Whippet. Looks close, right? Close enough. It's either a Whippet or some kind of... No, I think it's a Whippet. See, I know my dog breeds. My owner has been gone for 0.02 seconds. 911. Have you tried eating the couch? Okay, Bear doesn't eat the couch because he's a good boy. The secret to having your dog not eat the couch is crate training them early on. That way, when they're in the crate, they're not going to be eating the couch. When they come out of the crate,
God,
you
looking
can
inside.
visualize what they're doing and make corrections as needed, and only allow them out of the crate under direct observation to make those corrections. Right, Bear? That's why you don't eat the couch. Give me a kiss. No? Kiss? Oh, thank you. Yeah, you don't eat the couch, but you eat my face. Dare I say, Chihuahua muffin? Come on, it's a Chihuahua muffin! Honestly, blueberry muffins are one of my favorite foods, and I grew up eating them, and I kind of hate that I did, because I think that's what secretly destroyed my cholesterol. You have no idea how much saturated fat and fat there is in muffins. A muffin, you would think is just like, oh, it's like a little snack. No, it's not a snack. It's a hidden treasure trove of saturated fat and calories and carbs. Jurassic Bark. Oh my God, Bear has a Halloween costume of a dinosaur. We'll put it on shortly. Don't stop retrieving. Hold on to that feeling. Feline. I can't pronounce feline. Bear, do you like cats? I'm gonna do this. This is gonna get me in trouble. If this video gets 300,000 likes, I will consider getting Bear a pet cat that looks just like him. A brown cat. Do they make brown cats? Yes. Corgia, South Corgilina, North Corgilina. You know what's funny? The other dog that I was considering getting Bear as a friend was a Corgi. Because I feel like I've grown out of the phase of wanting a very athletic dog. I want a chill dog. Bear's a very chill dog, but imagine having two chill dogs. You'd have them smile at each other like this all the time. Like, cheese. Let me in so I can tell you I want to go back outside again. Yeah, that's most dogs. That's why I'm happy Bear doesn't have a doggy door. So I can just keep him inside all the time, right, Noof? You know, Bear reminds me of those troll dolls. Look at that. How do you feel about his mohawk? Look at that. I'm not fat. I'm just a little husky. Oh, and it has two different color eyes. Those are so cute. You got to try and keep your dog not obese, because dogs that carry extra weight live shorter lives. They have problems with their hips. So that's why we're trying to keep Bear nice and trim. I don't mean his hair, because that's clearly not trim, but his body is very nice. You could just barely feel his ribs, so you know he's in a good body habitus. CPR not working, let's hide the body. That's funny. Bear does that all the time, especially if I'm lying down. Does your dog bite? No, it's worse. She is when Bear comes up to people and people are like, oh my God, can I pet your dog? I say, yeah, sure, just be careful. And as soon as I say be careful, they panic. But what I'm saying is be careful, he slobbers. Half the people say, oh my God, I don't want to get my clothes dirty, but he's so cute. And then the other people welcome his drool on their face as if it's moisturizer. And I'm like, all right, you're going too far. I grab my keys, my dog. Honestly, if I come up to the door and I put on my shoes, Bear does not react. But if I come on and he hears the jingle of his leash, that's a game changer. Finally, a political movement I can get behind. Thor Michelson says no to vacuums. They're loud and they freak him out. Honestly, Bear doesn't get scared of vacuums, but if you come next to him with the vacuum and like you're vacuuming next to him, he freaks out. He wants to get away. Pixar. Bear, look, it's a cone. Well, actually, when Bear had his surgeries, I didn't get him a cone. I got him like this round inflatable pillow thing. He seemed to be more comfortable with it. I almost had a heart attack this morning. Oh, it kind of does look like a tiger. Oh, that's funny. How is that dog so tall? I don't even know what's happening here, to be honest. I feel like this is Photoshop. Oh, this is the Drake meme. Doesn't like the fireworks, loves the tennis ball. Honestly, Bear will fetch maximum 5 times. And then I don't know if he's tired or he's over it, but he doesn't like fetching more than 5 times. She called you a good dog 1,000 times. I just remember one time 6 years ago when she told me I was a very, very bad dog. Honestly, I disagree. I think dogs don't remember anything negative. They only see the best in you. I did the math. We can't afford the cat. Oh, Bear, we already promised them 300,000 likes. Bear, where are you going? Just trying to get comfy? All right, so do you want the cat or not? Waiting on my luggage. It's a stick. Oh my God, that reminds me of the stick from the short that we put up, where it was like $295, the world's most expensive stick. Would still pet. Explosive dog. How would we write that? We wouldn't write explosive dog. We would say bomb sniffing dog. Bear, you're an explosive dog. Would you have explosive diarrhea? A bus full of former bad boys headed home from Good Boy Camp. Oh, little doggos. With seatbelts on. This is the most safe school bus of dogs I've ever seen. So your owner made you fetch the ball, but they never actually threw it. I'd say you have a strong case for fraud. Bear, go get it. Go, bring it. Come on. Yeah, that's a good boy. Look, he brought the Roxy head that he's destroyed. Lay down. Ah, it's dog wars. Yeah. Let him entertain himself. Oh. He's over it. That was quick. What my dog is called, Charlie. What I call my dog, Poffle, Boffus, Mock, Ponzel, Foffle, Pritchard, Ernesto, Bushy Boy. Bear's nicknames: Bear, Floof, Noof, Doof, Doggo. I think that's it. This dog comes with 2 subs. Oh, that's really cute. I have the same backpack for Bear, but I use it to hold water bottles when we go hiking to give him a little extra weight. Someone should invent an alarm clock where the alarm clock is the sound of a dog about to throw up, because nothing wakes me up and gets me out of bed faster than that. Honestly, so true. It's actually happened when we film videos. Weaknesses: worried about their social status. Inflexible? Did Bear just throw up? And the only reason I get up so quickly is because this dog, for some reason, will throw up and just lay right back down into it like he's going for a swim. When I see my coworker's dog in the background of the video chat, I am that way. And every time Bear pops up into my videos, everyone's talking about it too. My emotional support dog after one day with me. Honestly, I feel like Bear would run out of empathy really quick if he actually knew what I was talking about when I unload my feelings to him. Actually, that's why he's tired right now, because last night I was going through it and I couldn't sleep, so I had some anxiety. So I started telling him all my problems. So I think he's carrying that burden right now. It's not breaking HIPAA if you tell your dog about your patients, right? By the age of 30, you should have a dog anxiety and a dog anxiety. Oh my God. At age 33, I cannot see a more accurate meme. I have a dog, I have anxiety, and I have a dog with anxiety. Actually, I don't know. He doesn't look like he has much anxiety. How it feels sharing the bed with my dog. Oh my God, that is me. If I let him on my bed, not only is it incredibly hairy, but there's no room because he's giant. Do dogs understand elevators, or are they like, okay, it's time to get out into the world changer? Every time the elevator door opens, Bear gets in it, but I don't think he understands what's happening. I think he just sees a door open and he thinks that's the next step because that's been his progression for so long. But you know what is interesting? If the elevator stops at a different floor, he knows not to get off. So what's that about? What does he know about that floor that I don't know? Me hungover. AF trying to find the ibuprofen aisle. Be careful with ibuprofen when you're hungover. Your stomach's irritated from alcohol, you have a little gastritis. Ibuprofen can make it worse. How my dog sees himself when the doorbell rings. Honestly, Bear acts so hard when the doorbell rings, and then the second someone comes in, he just starts licking them and like welcoming them and showing them where all the valuables are. He's like the exact opposite of this. He is purebred. I would like for my next dog to be a rescue. My biggest concern is where to find one that matches my personality and how that whole process works. So if anyone has tips, hit me down below. I'm sorry, Jack, there's not enough room. There's all these dogs. James Cameron just came out with a statement and said that it's scientifically not plausible for both of them to have survived. And actually, the book that I'm reading was interesting in that they talked about whether or not our emotions would change if she invited him and he said no, if he asked to come on and she said no, and how would that affect our viewpoints of these characters? I thought it was a really interesting discussion. What would you think if he got on there with her, with another person, and one of them had to jump off or get pushed off, and she pushed off the other person? What would your thoughts be about her? Did you know that Bear was actually attacked in a dog park by a golden retriever? Click here.
Damn. That's crazy. Might as well watch some interesting shit.
This video is sponsored.
Actually, I got a better idea. Chris Fix, but he gets less depressed. Ah. Oh shit.
For supporting the video and sending all and the cry at. Hey guys, Chris Fix here, and today I'm going to show you how to replace your entire front suspension. Everything in the front wheel well is going to be replaced. I'm talking about everything. We have lower control arms, all the bushings, the axle, the strut, any boots we have, the hub, the bearing, all the ball joints, the inner and outer tie rod, and the upper control arm. Literally everything from the wheel inwards is going to get replaced. I already started on the other side. Let me give you an idea what I'm talking about. So here are all the old components, and here's what it's gonna look like. There is nothing left in here. It's all gonna be brand new. And the reason why we're doing this is because all of these components have 200,000 miles on them. They're old, they're rusty, they're worn out, and they have to be replaced. Let me show you what I mean. Driving this car is supposed to be a lot of fun, but it isn't. It's scary. You could feel all the play in the suspension. Steering is not accurate, it's vague, it wanders all over the road. Everything feels all loose and worn out. You could just tell that it's no good. Now you saw how bad it drove. Well, the next thing you'd want to look for is your tire wear. You can see here the outside edge of the tire is worn out, which is due to excessive camber. This is positive camber. If you see the inside wearing out, that's negative camber, but this wear could be due to a bad alignment. It's just a signal to check out the suspension to make sure it's okay. And to check the suspension, what you want to do is you want to grab a pry bar, and we're going to go in here and pry at the front suspension. You want to pry around the bushings and make sure they're not worn out. There shouldn't be much play. It will deflect a little bit, but this is way too much. I'm not even pulling hard on the pry bar. And you can see the whole upper control arm is moving around, and that's why the suspension on this car feels so horrible. Now that's just me and a pry bar. Imagine the entire weight of the car on the suspension. There's gonna be a lot more play than that. So all the bushings are bad, all the ball joints are bad, the bearings bad. Basically all the suspension components are bad and need to get replaced, so I'm gonna replace them all. And the good thing is, you guys are gonna learn how to replace and rebuild your entire front suspension. And we're gonna be doing this at home on jack stands using common hand tools. Now, as always, I like to start off by putting on some eye protection. And all you're gonna need tool-wise is a breaker bar, some wrenches, ratchets, and a socket set, a pry bar, a torque wrench, some pliers and snap ring pliers, screwdrivers, and a hammer. Now, I do have an electric impact gun here just to show you guys that this is a very, very useful tool. It makes your job so much quicker and easier. Now, I do understand not everybody has one, but if you're gonna be working on cars, definitely consider investing in one. Since not everybody has one, I'm gonna stick to using common hand tools, but I will link all the tools here in the description so you could easily find it. Now, there are some more specialized tools that you're gonna need because we're gonna be pressing out a bearing and ball joints. So we have a ball joint press, we have a slide hammer, and we have a bearing press. Now, since most people don't own these more specialized tools, you can rent them from your local parts store for free. And for whatever reason, if you can't find these tools for free, when we get to the point where we remove the knuckle, you could take this to your local shop, have them press out the old ball joint and the bearing and press in a new ball joint and bearing. It's not going to cost a lot. Then you can come back to your house and continue replacing the rest of your parts. Now, speaking about parts, it's very important that you install good parts into your car. You don't want to install junk and then they go bad and you don't have a good ride. Install quality parts. So you want to make sure your parts meet or exceed OEM spec, and it's a good idea to make sure your parts have all the included fasteners and hardware. You don't want to reuse old rusted fasteners that are bent. In order to do the job 100%, you want to make sure you have new fasteners. Now, I do want to thank Mevotech for supporting the video and sending me out a bunch of suspension components so I could show you guys how to do this. And with that, we are ready to start removing the front suspension. Now, of course, before you begin any work, you want to make sure your car is safely jacked up and on jack stands. Another thing I like to do is I like to get the tire and slide it underneath just as an extra level of protection so the car can't completely drop in a worst case scenario. The next thing I like to do, since all the suspension bolts have been on here for a really long time, they're all rusted, I like to get some penetrating fluid and just spray down all the suspension bolts. I've already done this for the past couple of days because I knew I was going to do this job. The penetrating fluid is going to help loosen up the rusted nuts and bolts. It's going to penetrate deep into the threads and lubricate it, so it makes it easier to remove all these fasteners. So with every nut and bolt sprayed down with penetrating fluid, the first thing we want to remove is the axle nut. And this axle nut has a little indentation here that we have to straighten out before we can remove it. So get a little punch and a hammer and just push the rim of the axle nut out of this indentation. Beautiful. Now the idea is that little indented part is stuck inside the axle, so the axle nut can't come out by mistake. So when we install our new axle nut at the end, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to indent the rim into the axle. Alright, so now we can remove the axle nut, but the problem is if we try to loosen it, the axle is just going to spin.
Screwdriver.
So normally what I'd like to do is I like to put the wheel back on the car and then lower the car down to the ground so that doesn't spin. But I already did the other side and there's no suspension there. So another way to prevent the wheel from spinning is to stick a screwdriver into the cooling vanes on the brake rotor or have someone in the car press the brakes. And that'll hold the axle in place so you can break the axle nut loose. You'll definitely have to use a long breaker bar to get enough leverage to do this because axle nuts are on there tight. Also, don't hurt your back doing this. Bend from the knees and not from your back. With the nut loose, now we can remove it the rest of the way by hand. Good. And that's all there is to it. And notice how the penetrating fluid soaked into the threads a little bit, which made it easier to remove. Next, we can remove the brake caliper. There's 2 bolts behind here. In order to make it easier to remove, just turn the steering wheel to give you better access to those bolts. And you can see we have more room to remove the top caliper bolt and the bottom bolt. Just loosen that the rest of the way by hand, and now the brake caliper is loose. But before we remove it, we want to follow the brake line and remove any fasteners holding the brake line to the knuckle, like here and here. So let's remove the first 10mm fastener holding the brake line in. Good. And then the second 10mm fastener, which is back here. Good. And with the brake line free, we could remove the caliper. So slide a bucket or a block of wood under the wheel well. That way we could remove the caliper and place it on a piece of wood so there's no pressure on the brake line. Finally, we could get the brake rotor off, and that's definitely going to need some hammering.
Okay.
Only hit it like this if you're going to replace it. Perfect. And with the rotor loose, let's remove it. Alright, so with the brakes out of the way, now we could remove the hub. The hub is what the wheel bolts to. So in order to remove this, we want to make sure we don't remove any other suspension parts because we need the suspension to hold the knuckle in as we pull the hub out. To pull the hub out, we're going to be using our slide hammer, so let's grab the hub adapter and fit it in place. And it figures, because this Honda has such a small hub, the studs aren't fitting in the slots here. I could get one in, but I can't get the other. So I have a quick solution. I'm going to thread on some lug nuts and then hammer the studs so I bend them apart. Since I'm replacing this hub, I don't care if these studs bend. And look at that, perfect. Now thread on lug nuts to hold the slide hammer adapter in place. Then we could grab the slide hammer, thread it onto the adapter, and let's remove this hub. So what you do is slide the weight fast to knock the hub outwards. You're probably gonna have to do this a bunch of times,
Damn, looks like I should call her, man. I should call her.
especially if the hub is original, and in this case, over 25 years old. And this is putting up a bigger fight than I thought. I'm not so sure this is gonna remove the hub. And unfortunately, sometimes that happens when you work on cars. Your plan doesn't work. It would have made it so much easier just to pull this right out. How this works is, here's what the hub looks like. It's nice and smooth. This fits into the bearing, and the slide hammer pulls it right out. In this case, it's so rusty and old, it's not coming out easily. But it's not a huge deal. We're just gonna have to knock out that hub when we remove the entire knuckle. Alright, so the next thing to do is to remove the knuckle that holds the bearing in. So the knuckle's held in by the upper ball joint there, by the tie rod ball joint right here, And by the lower ball joint under here, we remove those 3 ball joints and the entire knuckle will come out. So let's start with the upper ball joint. So this is a castle nut, and usually castle nuts have a cotter pin that goes through them and it's bent around the castle nut. But I think the cotter pin was so rusted it just fell apart. So let's see if we can break this nut loose. Beautiful. And then loosen it up the rest of the way. Now we're gonna take the same castle nut, flip it upside down, and screw it back onto the stud. This is actually a really helpful trick. Screw the castle nut in until the base of the nut is flush with the stud. Perfect. Then hammer that upwards to pop the stud out of the knuckle. And usually with the ball joint loose, you can't unscrew the nut because the stud just spins like you're seeing here. So get a locking pliers and clamp down onto the stud. Now the stud is held in place and we can remove the nut. Just
This guy is
like
so
that.
fucking informative. I love him.
So with the upper ball joint completely removed, now let's move on to the lower ball joint down here. And with this lower ball joint, you can see now we have a cotter pin. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna open up that cotter pin. This is gonna be really simple. And grab onto it and pull it right out just like that. Next, we could break this nut loose and remove it the rest of the way. And just like before, flip it over
Damn,
and
that's
reinstall
rusted
it
to
so
hell.
it's flush with the stud. Now let's hammer it out. Unfortunately, again, things are not working as planned, and this ball joint stud isn't popping out. So I'm going to remove this nut. I don't want to get the nut stuck on here, and then it makes a bigger problem. And you can see the nut was already starting to get deformed. That means we're hitting this so hard it's not working. So this gives me the opportunity to show you a specialized tool designed exactly for popping out ball joint studs. All you need to do is place the tool over the control arm and slide it under the ball joint stud and tighten it down so it presses against the stud. Now you just tighten this until it pops. This is part of a ball joint puller set that could be rented for free from many parts stores, so this is another option I wanted to show you. Boom! That is all there is to it. Now we can remove the tool and the ball joint is free from the knuckle. And finally, the last thing to remove to get the knuckle out is the tie rod end. So let's bend the cotter pin open, and it's okay to break the cotter pin because we do need to replace this anyway. A lot of times it makes it easier to remove like this. Then break the nut loose and unscrew it the rest of the way. Again, flipping the castle nut over, and then hitting the nut and stud with a hammer to pop it out. Then remove the nut, and the tie rod can be removed, and the knuckle is finally free. So now that the entire knuckle is removed, we can remove the ball joint and bearing and that hub that we couldn't get off before. But before we do that, let's finish removing the rest of the suspension. And we might as well continue by working on the inner and outer tie rod. We're going to keep this as one assembly. We're just going to disconnect this right here from the steering rack. And the reason why we want to keep this connected is because we'll be able to get a measurement from here to here. And when we install the new inner and outer tie rod, we can use that same exact measurement to give us a pretty accurate alignment. So to remove this tie rod, we're going to need 2 wrenches. And we need access to the inner tie rod ball joint right here. So slip one wrench onto the steering rack to hold it in place, and use the other wrench to loosen the inner tie rod. With that loose, now we can loosen it the rest of the way by hand. Good. And notice there's a lock washer at the end here. I'll show you how to install this on the new tie rod so the tie rod doesn't come loose while you drive. And finally, remove that old broken boot. Alright, so next let's go and remove the strut. The strut comes down and goes into this metal bracket here. Right here there is a pinch bolt holding this in. We want to remove that first before we remove any fasteners. So let's go get that loose. There we go, now it's loosening up. And let's remove this bolt the rest of the way by hand. Beautiful, and that's going to make it so much easier to separate the strut from the metal bracket down here. So the next thing we need to do is remove this bolt holding the strut into the lower control arm. So get a wrench on one side holding the bolt in place as we unscrew the nut with the ratchet. Then we can remove the nut all the way and lightly tap the bolt out with a hammer. And with that bolt removed, the only thing holding the strut in are 2 fasteners right on top of the strut tower. So let's loosen up the first 14mm nut and remove it the rest of the way. And let's remove the other nut as well, and once that's off, we can push the strut down. Gonna have to push it some more to clear the control arm. Wiggle it a little. Oh, and the strut fork separated from the strut, so that's one last step. Okay, and that gives us room to remove the axle. So now we just need to follow the axle all the way to the transmission. So we're coming in from the outside, going under the car, and the axle goes right into the transmission right here. Now you just want to grab a pry bar, slide it between the axle and the transmission, and just pop it out. Perfect. Now before you remove the axle completely, get something to catch the leaking transmission fluid, because when you remove the axle, some fluid might come out. And in this case, it looks like nothing's leaking, which is nice, so there's no mess and we don't have to refill it later on. So now with the axle free, we can remove it completely from the car. And we're so close to being done with the disassembly. All that's left is the lower control arm here and the upper control arm there. So let's get that upper control arm out. This is so easy to do. It's held in by 2 fasteners, so let's start with breaking this nut free right here and loosen it the rest of the way by hand. Now let's get that other nut removed completely as well. Good, so with both of these nuts removed, now we could go back under the car and this control arm should come right out like that. Beautiful. So now with that done, we have one more thing we need to do, and that is remove this lower control arm. There is a bolt right here, and there's a couple of bolts back here holding in a bushing, so let's go remove those bolts first. And there are 3 bolts that we need to remove that hold the control arm bushing in place. So let's break the first one loose, and that was a lot easier to break loose than I thought, given how rusty all this is. Next, we can remove the second bolt, and finally we could finish off with removing that last bolt. So with this end completely loose, now we have one more bolt we need to remove, and that is right here. So let's break this final 17mm bolt free, and unscrew it the rest of the way by hand. And then we can wiggle the control arm right out of here. Alright, so with this control arm removed, we have officially removed everything.
You know what I really love about ChrisFix? The fact that someone actually made a TikTok about going to a mechanic and asking for how much an oil change is going to cost. Dude walked in and said, hey, how much is it going to cost to change the oil on my car? It's probably going to be $150. Second later, hey guys, ChrisFix here. Because he has a whole entire video on how to change every single oil change, every single fluid change. He has a video for everything. ChrisFix is like one of the most informative mechanics, and that talks in the most simplified language and explains everything. I mean everything. He puts in every single like detail. He puts in every single mistake that someone could make. He even repeats himself, but it's the smallest things that he do, the smallest things that he does, that everyone appreciates. No one can get mad at him. No one can get mad at him because he's helping people save so much money. And even showing, even there was a big tool company that was willing to, I think it was Milwaukee. They were gonna give him like 3 whole entire whatever they called. They're like small cabinets full of tools. And he just said, no, just give me the basic type of hand tools that you would need at a fraction of the cost. And they were like, say less, and just gave him the shit. And I love this man. There are times where it's like, even when he was changing a Prius battery, he was like, you know, I bought this car for $2,000. The mechanic said it was going to cost like $4,000 to replace the battery and get it cleaned up. It basically totals out the car. And he said, since you're saving so much money, you might as well get power tools. And it actually came in handy. I love this guy so much. Nothing can underestimate what I think about this man.
In this wheel well, and it wasn't that difficult. It's really that simple in most cases. All the fasteners came off pretty easily.
That's also another reason why I like it, because sometimes I'm afraid of working on my own motorcycle because I'm afraid I'm going to do something wrong and break it. But with him showing everything what to do, it makes it so much less complicated and a lot more easy. It helps even watching these videos. Like, I don't have a car, I only have a motorcycle, but watching these videos are informative and really good to watch.
If they were hard to remove, you just use a breaker bar, make sure you spray everything down with penetrating fluid, and it's that simple. It's just a bunch of nuts and bolts. So out with all the old suspension parts, and in with all the brand new ones. I cannot wait to get these installed. It's going to make a huge difference from these old rusted parts to the brand new parts. Now what we need to do is we need to get our knuckle and remove the hub bearing and ball joint. I'll show you how to do that off the car. And since we have everything removed, I'm going to clean up everything in here. I'm going to hose it down, and I'm going to put a fresh coat of paint
brake
so we don't
caliper?
get any rust. It's important to clean the wheel well before you paint to remove all the dirt, oils, and grease, which will prevent the paint from sticking. I'm going to remove the fender liner for some more access, and let's spray down the wheel well with some soapy water, which will act as our degreaser. Then grab a brush and brush everything down. This is gonna agitate all the dirt and make it easier to remove.
He's very
Look at all
overkill
that
too.
dirt just getting washed away. So let's finish up with a final rinse. And finally, I'm gonna set up a fan right here to dry this off faster. So as we let that dry, that gives us the perfect opportunity to work on our knuckle. So we're gonna go from this to this. This is the passenger side. I already did it, already replaced everything. It looks great. Now, I did say at the beginning of the video, if you can't get the specialized tools for rent, or if you just don't want to tackle this part of the job, you can take your knuckle to a shop. They will press out all the old parts, so they'll press out the hub, the bearing, the ball joint, and they'll press in the new parts for you. Sure, it's going to cost you a little bit extra, but it might not be a bad option if you want. Now, of course, I'm going to show you right now how to remove everything and replace everything. So let's get started. And the first thing we need to do is get this old stubborn
I love
hub
this
out.
man
Now, you
so
saw
much.
before, slide hammer was not working at all. It's just so rust welded in there. We're going to need something with a lot more force. Now, we don't have any fancy presses or anything here, so we're going to be using a good old hammer. And let me show you how. So grab your knuckle, and this hub is going to come out this way. So we're going to set this up in the vise. So this outside ring right here is the bearing, this inside ring is the hub. Just so you get a better idea, you can see this inside ring right here is the hub. We're gonna go get a socket and place it right there so we could push the hub only and leave the bearing in place. So get a socket that fits right on the hub, and let's hammer this hub out. You're probably gonna have to use some pretty good force to get this out, considering the slide hammer didn't work for it. Beautiful. And you can see how much better this worked compared to using that slide hammer. This worked a lot quicker and was a lot easier to get it out. And now let's get the bearing out. So the bearing is held in with a snap ring, and this is what prevents the bearing from coming out.
I think it's
and
the
the
thing
trick with
called
removing
leverage.
old rusty snap rings is to soak them in penetrating fluid to loosen them up. Now we could grab our snap ring pliers, squeeze them good, and that's not budging. So when your snap ring pliers just aren't strong enough to move that snap ring because the snap ring is so rust welded in here, a little trick is to get a punch and hammer and get that punch in one of the snap ring holes and tap the punch to break the snap ring free from the rust. Do this to the other side of the snap ring as well, and hammer around the flat part of the snap ring, again to break that snap ring free from all that rust that's gripping tight onto it. Now we can go back in there and give that snap ring pliers a good squeeze, and that's working a lot better than before, but it's still stuck. So grab a flathead screwdriver and work your way around the snap ring to loosen it up. And there we go. Now, since we removed our snap ring from this side of the bearing, that means the bearing is going to come out this way because the snap ring was preventing it from coming out. So let's flip over the knuckle so we can knock this bearing out. Then we're going to get our bearing press kit, and we want to grab a bearing adapter that we think will fit right on the outside of the bearing. So this right here is the correct adapter. You can see the outside edge of the bearing. We want this to fit right on the outside edge like that. There's a little bit of space around the whole thing where this will allow us to push that bearing out, but it won't get caught up. If you use something too small like this, you're going to only push on this race right here, and the bearing's going to get damaged. You're just going to pop that inside race out. And if you use something too big like this, you're not even going to be hammering the bearing. You're going to be hammering onto the knuckle, and that's not going to move the bearing. So you want to find the right size that fits right in there. And now we're going to just hammer this out. For the bearing, you're going to need a decent amount of force to knock this out. Just be careful not to hit the knuckle, which could damage it.
Did that work?
I like to use some
No.
penetrating fluid to both loosen up the rust and to lubricate the bearing so it comes out easier and you won't damage the knuckle as it's forced out. And we're almost there. You can see that bearing's about to pop out. Beautiful. And there you go. That is how you remove an old wheel bearing. There's nothing to it. And this one was pretty stuck in there, yet we still managed to pop it out with just a hammer.
Did that
Next,
work?
it's important to use a pick or a thin flathead screwdriver and clean out the channel
Why
the
is this
snap
not
ring
working?
sits in. Get all that rust out. That's going to prevent the new snap ring from seating properly into that channel. This is important because this is what prevents your bearing from coming out. So let's wipe all the loose rust away and see how that snap ring fits. Perfect. That snap ring is all the way into the
No,
channel,
that
and that's
works.
exactly what we want to see. Next, let's remove this old rusty brake dust shield.
That
I need to
works.
try to unscrew these 3 screws. They're Phillips heads, but I could tell this is going to be hopeless. And it is. Just
Yep.
stripping that screw away. I'll have to try the other screw just in case, and as you can see, the rust is just too much. But don't
Wow.
worry, I have a super simple trick, and that's using a saw. What we want to do is saw a slot into the screw, essentially turning it into a flathead screw instead of a Phillips. Then we could use a larger flathead screwdriver, and that's what I'm talking about. That gave us enough leverage to break that screw free. So we turned something that was going to be a
Yes.
real pain
Protect
to
him.
remove into something that
Literally
wasn't
protect
difficult
him.
at all. You can't beat that. Now we can apply the same method to the other 2 screws. Good. That's the second one free. And again, saw a slot. And good. That's the third one free. Finally, with all the rusted screws removed, we could remove the dust shield. Now let's remove the old worn out lower ball joint. So we'll start by removing this snap ring. Use that snap ring pliers to spread that snap ring apart and remove it from the ball joint. It's also helpful to remove the rubber boot, so let's do that as well. So with the snap ring removed, now we can hammer out the ball joint. And just like the bearing, we're gonna have to hammer it out on the shoulder of the ball joint. So find the right size socket that's gonna fit on the shoulder, just like that. Then use penetrating fluid to help lubricate the ball joint for easier removal, and just hammer the ball joint out. Notice I'm using a black impact socket, which could take the abuse of hammering. And that's all there is to it. So with that old hub, the bearing, and ball joint removed from the knuckle, now we want to prepare the knuckle to install the new hub, bearing, and ball joint. What you want to do is you want to look on the inside of the barrel here where the bearing sits and make sure there's no pieces of metal that are sticking out, any burrs, or anything from hitting that bearing out that could cause issues when you push the new bearing in. In this case, this looks nice and smooth. Same thing with our ball joint here. If you did have
Is he
any
gonna reuse
burrs
this?
on the edge, what you could do is you get a file and just file those burrs down, so when you push the new bearing or ball joint in, it won't damage it. Since this is good, all you want to do is get some 400 grit sandpaper and lightly sand the surfaces where the ball joint and bearing slide into. The idea is to get them rust free, smooth and clean, and just give the ball joint and bearing a fresh surface to press into. Beautiful. So you see how nice and smooth and clean that surface is? It's rust free. That's exactly what we want to see in the bearing spot and in the ball joint spot. Now for everybody who knows me, this is not going to be going back in looking like this. We'll be painting the knuckles, so I taped off where the bearing and ball joint slide
he
into.
is reusing
Next,
that.
use a metal wire brush to remove all the loose dirt and rust from the knuckle. It doesn't have to be 100% rust free because we're going to be using paint that bonds to the rust, but we definitely need to make sure the loose rust is removed. Good, and that's what we want it to look like. So not only am I going to paint the knuckle, but I'm going to paint the strut fork, and I'm going to paint the entire chassis over here in the wheel well. I did move the bumper off to the side, just a couple of clips, so let's get started. So with the clean and dry surface, I'm starting off with a special silver colored paint that bonds to the rust and it seals the metal surface so no new rust could form. After that dries, I'm going over it with a special thick black paint that adds a second barrier against rock
Sorry.
chips, brake dust, oil, and grease. It's also going to make this wheel well look really nice. I'm going to follow the same exact steps for the knuckle and strut fork, paint on the silver colored paint, and after that dries, paint on the thick black paint. Alright, with those parts painted and with our wheel well and chassis painted, look at that. Not only does that look good, but that paint barrier is going to prevent rust. So now all we need to do is let it dry, and 24 hours later, our paint is completely dry, so we're ready to install our brand new ball joint and bearing. So for this video, we've already covered a lot of information. We disassembled the entire front worn out suspension, from control arms to tie rods, the axle, the strut, ball joints and bearings and hubs, and even the brakes. We removed it all. So we went from this old worn out suspension to this completely gutted wheel well with fresh paint. So with all these old parts removed, in the next video, I'm going to show you how to install your entire front suspension, including pressing in the new ball joint, bearing, and hub. That way, everything's going to be brand new in our front suspension. We'll get her aligned and see how she drives. So I'm going to make it really simple for you guys to find that video so you can see how to install all the suspension parts. I'll post a link in the description, and I'm also going to have a link right here on the screen. Just click the screen right there, and that'll
I should show you the video here. This shit.
Hey guys, today I'm gonna show you. Hey guys, this is Chris Fix. Hey guys, Chris Fix here. 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 And today I'm gonna show you what caused our
It's such a good change, dude. It's such a good change. See, oh yeah. Where's the fluid video? There's a video
for supporting the
of
video and sending me out.
being every single car. I'm pretty sure that's one of his most popular, except for the engine bay. Ah. I guess I underestimated him. There it is.
Hey guys, Chris Fix here, and today I'm going to
Okay,
show
I'll
you
be right
how to
back.
replace every single fluid in your vehicle. So whether you have a luxury car, a muscle car, a pickup truck, an SUV, a normal passenger car, a compact car, or a convertible, after you're done watching this video, you're gonna know how to replace every fluid in your car at home with common hand tools. This video will cover how to change engine oil, transmission fluid, power steering fluid, engine coolant, brake fluid, rear differential fluid, transfer case fluid, washer fluid, and finally we're gonna force out all the old grease and add brand new grease to all the grease points on our suspension. And if you're wondering how often you should replace your fluids and what type of fluid and how much you need, well, grab your owner's manual and let me show you. Now we're gonna wanna head to the back to the maintenance and specifications section. And as you can see, it lists the different types of fluids in your vehicle, the specific fluid you should use, and also the capacity, the amount of fluid that you're gonna need. And some owner's manuals even have a page like this that it tells you how many miles that you need to change specific fluids at. So it gives you the interval. For example, we have the oil right here. It tells you to change it every 5,000 miles. And then the coolant right there, it tells you to replace every 45,000 miles. So this will give you a good idea on when you should replace your fluids. All right, so now let's get started replacing all the fluids. And the first thing we need to do is lift up the vehicle. If you have a lift, that's awesome. Definitely use it. In this case, we don't have a lift. We have a jack and jack stands, and that's what I'm gonna be using. We're gonna lift the front, and then we're gonna lift the rear, so let's get started. First thing you wanna do is chalk off the rear wheels, and we're gonna pull the e-brake so the car doesn't move.
Oh, yeah, actually, there's a reason why you should always chalk off your wheels. I could show you an example of, what happens when you don't chalk There's a video of a guy who has his car drive over him. A guy gets rolled over car and when what the fuck? My god, this dude. Where's that? I gotta find the one vid. Okay, I guess get into this when we can.
So let's slide the jack under the front of the car, and we want to jack up under the cross member, which could easily support the weight of the car as we lift it. So jack the car up as high as you can so we can get under and change all the fluids comfortably. Now you want to grab your jack stand and look underneath the vehicle for the frame rail. And to find the frame rail on your car, just look for this large metal piece that runs from the front all the way down to the back. So get the jack stand underneath the frame rail like that, and I have our other jack set up as well. Then we can slowly lower the car onto the jack stands and remove the jack from the front. So with the front of the car safely lifted up, now we're gonna come to the back, slide the jack under the car, and back here we're gonna lift it up from the rear differential. Just make sure the jack is centered on the differential so it doesn't slide off as you lift it. And as you jack up the car, keep an eye on the front jack stands to make sure they're not tilting or sliding. And as we lift up the rear, you want to get it lifted up high enough so the car is level, just like that. So at the car level, in the rear, we need to find a spot to put the jack stand. This right here is metal on the frame, but I don't think it's thick enough. I'd rather get something thicker and a little bit sturdier. There is a giant piece of subframe metal right there. That is thick and sturdy, and that'll be safe. So let's slide the jack underneath the car, get it under that thick metal subframe, and then let's slowly lower it down onto the jack stands, just like that. And I like to keep the jack resting up slightly against the differential as extra protection, just in case the jack stand fails. So there we go, now the car is completely lifted off the ground, and anytime I lift the vehicle, I like double protection. So in the back here, not only do we have our jack stands, but we have the jack holding up the differential just in case. And if we come over to the front, not only do we have the jack stands under the frame rails, but we have ramps underneath the tires. You could use ramps, you could use wheels, whatever you have, just have double protection. Two things to prevent the car from falling on you. So if one fails, you have backup. It's very important. You want to make sure you lift your car up safely. And another thing I like to do is I like to grab the car, shake it back and forth, and that feels really sturdy. You don't want it to wobble, you don't want it to shake. It should feel solid like it was on the ground. And with that, the last thing to do is to make sure that this car is level because we're changing the fluids. This is very important. So let's go under the car, and you want to find somewhere flat that you could put your level on, like the frame rail right here, or the oil pan. And as you can see, our bubble is right in the middle, which means our car is level. So it's very important. Make sure you do that step, especially when you're changing your fluids. Make sure it's level, because if it's not, your car is going to be tilted one way or the other. And when you're changing your oil, your transmission fluid, differential fluid, basically every fluid in your car requires your car to be level in order to get an accurate reading so you could fill it to the proper level. Otherwise, you could underfill it or overfill it, and that wouldn't be good. So with that, we are ready to start on our first fluid change. Now, out of all the oils in your car, the engine oil has to withstand the toughest conditions, which is also why it's the most frequently replaced oil. As the oil gets used up, it gets more acidic, it gets sludgy, and it isn't good for the engine. It could easily clog up narrow passageways. Check this out. This right here is a variable valve timing solenoid, and if you take a closer look, there is a fine mesh screen on this that oil has to pass through. So if the oil gets sludgy and thick, it won't pass through this. That might cause you to lose fuel economy, lose power, and it could trigger a check engine light. But that's the least of your worries. Bad oil doesn't lubricate the engine like it should. It could cause increased wear or completely destroy your engine, which is an expensive mistake. So definitely replace your engine oil at the manufacturer's recommended interval. So to do that, you just need some oil. You need an oil filter, which you replace every single time you replace the oil. Tool-wise, we have an oil filter wrench. We have a ratchet with the correct size socket to remove the drain bolt. We have a funnel and an oil catch can so we could catch and recycle the oil. And as always, grab those safety glasses, put them on, get some gloves on so you don't touch the oil, which isn't good for you, and let's get started by replacing the engine oil. Now, the first thing you want to do when replacing the engine oil is come to the top of the engine and remove that oil fill cap. What this is going to do is allow air to come in, so when you're removing the oil, it'll come out quicker and you'll get more oil out. Now we could go underneath the car and remove the oil drain plug. And looking under the car right away, you can see the oil filter is right there. And then right behind that is the oil pan, which holds the oil that we're going to have to drain. Now moving back a little bit further down the oil pan, and that's where the oil drain plug is, so let's remove it. So get a 16mm socket on there and crack it loose. Now get your drain pan underneath so we don't leak any oil onto the ground, and then we can remove the drain plug the rest of the way. Beautiful. And now we just need to let it drain. So now with the oil just dripping out, it's pretty much completely drained, and we could install our drain plug. One thing you want to keep in mind though, some drain plugs have a crush washer on them. This is an example of a crush washer, and if you have one of these, you might want to replace it, especially if your drain plug was dripping oil. In this case, our drain plug doesn't use a crush washer, so all we need to do is tighten this down by hand, and then get your ratchet and tighten it until it's snug and can't easily turn anymore, like that. Then give it a little extra turn to snug it down, but don't over tighten it. With that done, now let's go and replace the oil filter. So to remove this, get an oil filter wrench and crack it loose, like that. And with the catch can below, now we can remove the oil filter the rest of the way by hand, and do your best not to make a mess. And not bad, for once I didn't make a mess. And it's a good idea to take a look at the oil filter housing and make sure that the oil filter gasket isn't stuck on the housing here. You can see this is bare metal, but if there was a rubber gasket on here, you would want to remove it. You could also check the old oil filter and you could see the gasket stayed with the filter, which is exactly what we want. Now you want to grab your new filter, and there's two things we want to do. First, we want to pre-fill our filter a little bit. Since this filter is sideways, we can't fill it all the way, but adding a little oil helps. And what that does is that prevents the engine from running dry when you first start it. And the second thing we want to do is get some new oil on our finger and then rub it around the perimeter to lubricate the O-ring. Now we're ready to install our new oil filter. And remember, this has oil in it, so be careful not to spill it everywhere. And just line it up and thread it onto the filter housing by hand. Don't tighten it down with the wrench. Hand tighten it as much as you can, and that way it'll be tight enough to keep it from leaking, but make it easy enough to remove next time when you change the oil. A little tip which comes in handy is to mark the car's mileage on the filter so you can easily see when it was last changed. And with the new filter in, now we could go under the hood and add our engine oil. And before you add your oil, it's very important that you check your owner's manual and make sure you're adding the correct viscosity oil. In this case, it said to use 5W20, and I'm using 6.5 quarts of full synthetic to provide the maximum protection. Now let's remove the funnel and screw the cap back on. And with all the oil added, now we need to check the level and make sure we added enough. But before we do that, we need to run the engine to circulate the oil and make sure we get an accurate reading. So start the car. And keep an eye on your dash. Look for any red dash lights that indicate there might be low oil. You'll see an oil symbol or something like that. If that's the case, shut your engine off, add more oil. In this case, we have no lights, so after a minute, We could shut the car, and with the engine off, you want this to sit for a minute or two and let all that oil drain down into the oil pan so we could get an accurate reading. Now pull the dipstick out and wipe it off since we ran the engine, and when the engine's running, oil splashes onto the dipstick so we won't have a good accurate reading. Then take it out again, and now we could check the level. So there's the minimum, and there's the maximum, and we want our level to be close to the maximum, and check it out. We filled it perfectly to the end of the crosshatch area at the max line. And the last thing we need to do to finish this oil change is to recycle our old oil. I like to use the oil jug we just emptied and fill that up with used oil. And this works well because you can cap it off and now your oil is ready to be recycled. And this is a very important step. All the fluids I'm changing in this vehicle today will all be recycled so that we can keep our environment clean. Your town's recycle center, your local mechanic, and some part stores will take your old oils and recycle them for free. So with that, we are done replacing the oil. And the next fluid I'm going to show you how to replace is the transmission fluid. Now, the #1 killer of transmission fluid is heat. Heat degrades the fluid, it changes the viscosity, and over time, it could clog up your transmission, all these little passageways. It could cause your shift solenoids not to shift into certain gears or shift hard. It could cause your clutches to slip. All bad things, and transmissions aren't cheap, so let's maintain it, get good fluid in there so we don't have that issue. Now, when replacing the fluid, it's very important to use the correct fluid that's in your owner's manual. In this case, Mercon 5 for this vehicle. Make sure you're using the correct fluid, otherwise you could damage your transmission. But this is super easy. There's not many tools at all. We have a ratchet and socket, a pump, we have a little adapter because this is a Ford transmission, and we have our catch can. This transmission here is a sealed transmission. I know you guys have been asking for that for a while, so let me show you how to replace this transmission fluid. So right at the front is where we just changed our motor oil, and since we have a rear-wheel drive car, if we look towards the back, we have our transmission pan right here, and that's the drain plug right there. Not all transmissions have drain plugs. Some you need to remove the whole pan to drain the fluid, but luckily they made it pretty easy on this sealed transmission. So let's loosen the drain bolt, and let's drain the trans. I also want to get a fluid sample so we could smell and compare this to the new fluid. Good, and now we just wait for this to drain. Now as we wait, I want to show you guys the drain plug because it's a little different and it'll help you understand how we're going to fill the transmission. This drain plug is long and it is hollow. You can actually see on the bottom here, there is a bolt that will remove, and that'll allow us to pump fluid up into the transmission pan. So the transmission pan level is going to fill all the way up until it hits to the top of this bolt, and then fluid will start running out, and that's how we'll know it's full. It'll make more sense when we actually do it, but I just wanted to explain it to help you understand. So now with the transmission pan completely drained, let's hand tighten the drain plug into place, and this plug gets torqued to 22 foot-pounds, so we won't have any leaks. So out with the old transmission fluid and in with the new, and look at that color difference. The old fluid doesn't smell burnt and it isn't too dark, which means it's still in decent shape, but it's good we're maintaining the trans by adding some new fluid. Now we need to figure out how much new fluid we need to add to the transmission, and an easy way to do that is to empty the catch can into an old oil jug. The oil jug is perfect for this because it has a clear side, so we can see how much oil we removed from the trans, and therefore how much we need to add back in. Now not bad, about 4.5 quarts getting removed from this transmission out of 11 quarts, which is pretty good for not doing a flush. Now the reason why we can't remove all the fluid is because the torque converter holds a bunch of the fluid, but that's okay. That's why we need to do maintenance like this, so it mixes with the old fluid and we have some good fluid in there to maintain our transmission. So now let's go and fill up the transmission.
I didn't
and to
know
do that. We need
that.
to remove the inner fill bolt. This is a T30 Torx and it comes right out. Then we have our adapter, which we want to screw all the way in by hand. And finally we have an oil pump, and we could take that clear hose on the pump and push it onto the adapter like so, and then we could screw the pump directly onto the bottle of the transmission fluid and start pumping it into the transmission. This pump works pretty good, but expect to spend about 30 seconds pumping this for 1 quart to get pumped in. And with the magic of editing, we are almost done filling this up with 4.5 quarts. So with the transmission filled, now you want to start your car, and you want it to idle between 5 and 10 minutes so the transmission temperature gets between 80 to 120 degrees Fahrenheit. That's the temperature that this car needs for checking the fluid level. Alright, so it's been about 10 minutes of the engine just idling. So now we want to go through each gear. Go into reverse, wait a couple of seconds, go into neutral, wait a couple seconds, into the drive gears. Make sure you go through each one. We could go into the manual mode here, go into first gear, second gear, third gear, fourth gear, fifth gear, and then we could go back into park. Basically, we want all the parts of the transmission to get fluid to it. So that's why we do that. Now we could go back underneath with the car running and see if any fluid's coming out. So let's remove our hose here, And if the fluid's at the proper level, it's only going to come out as a little stream or drips. And this is looking pretty good. And just so you have an idea, you can see on the left, if it needs more fluid, no fluid's going to come out. So grab your pump and add more fluid in until it does come out. And if you take a look on the right, if it's overfilled, a steady stream is going to come out. So let that drain until it looks like what we have right here. And now that we've verified we have the correct amount of fluid, let's remove the adapter and screw in the fill bolt by hand. Now when tightening this up the rest of the way, don't over tighten it. It's only supposed to get torqued to about 8 foot-pounds, which is not tight at all. And with the fill bolt snugged up, we have successfully replaced the transmission fluid in a sealed transmission. It's that easy. And the only special tool we needed was that little adapter so that we could pump the new fluid in, and I'll be sure to link it in the description. So now you know how to replace the fluid in a sealed transmission, but what if your transmission has a dipstick? Well, luckily I have a whole video that goes in depth on how to replace the trans fluid by dropping the transmission pan, replacing the transmission filter, reinstalling the pan, and adding new fluid. And I'll link that video in the description so you can easily find it. And the next fluid I'm going to show you how to replace is the power steering fluid. Now, power steering fluid over time degrades because of heat and wear particles. The wear particles come from the rubber hoses and seals in the power steering system. So in order to prevent your power steering pump from getting noisy, from the steering getting difficult, and ultimately the power steering pump failing, it's very important that we replace the fluid. This pump right here has over 300,000 miles on it, and it still works perfectly fine because I replaced the fluid. And replacing the fluid on this is super easy. All you need is your power steering fluid, or in this case, the owner's manual recommends transmission fluid, and then you need some type of pump, something to suck the fluid out. In this case, we have a suction pump, or a turkey baster, or that pump that we used before. That's all, so let's go get started. And the first thing we need to do is find the power steering pump fluid reservoir. And in many cases, it has a steering wheel on the cat. So this right here is the fluid reservoir. And anytime you remove a cap, it's good practice to clean the surrounding area so you don't get dirt into the reservoir. And inside here is a particulate filter, which we need to remove. And now we could push our fluid pump to the bottom of the reservoir and pump out all the old power steering fluid. And I'm going to save each fluid each time I pump it out so we could compare it when we're done. Now,
Okay. What did we... Yes, I know. Thank you for letting me know. Okay, so we can watch this later. It'd be cool though to watch this. I really love Chris Fix and always so. This. This is gonna be fun. There it is.
Maybe good.
Oh yeah.
There's no way. Another ring. Yes. There's just straight fire to sprint, right? Oh yeah, for chambers. All these are good. I mean, I want the rifle because I need range. Look stupid. Look faster chambering. Yeah.
Это сжимаю сердце руку, когда она отливает на стенку. После я беру свою гитару И нагружаю песни Maybe Baby. А еще она иногда по рофлу может и подвинуть мне в ебало. Моя девчонка, пушка и бомба, и мне не нужна другая. Hey, you suck my dick, I'm a crazy Russian dick. On a bitch, пусть моя лава скрыт. Йока, в моих штанах смущает всех вокруг. Он нам выпустит частей наплевать. Мы давно сошли с ума. Она голая на улице, танцует шафл дэнс. Я врубаю песни бойчика и устраиваю флекс. После пустой хрущевки слегка смущённая. Но она пойдёт, станет все чёрным. Ой, хорошо, ой, хорошо.
Ай, mother. I don't know why it's not.
И когда мы в рваных грязных джинсах после полуразваленной хрущевки целовались бомжами на трипах, подошел к нам парень очень скромный. Я спросил, какой же в этом смысл? Сцену игнорировать стоит, отказавшись от саморазвития. Я сказал, улыбайся от боли. Мой самый лучший друг вчера был найден возле труб под железным тихим люком. Крысы жрали его труп, а я и не удивлен. Мы все когда-то так уйдем. Так чего ж тогда мы медлим, коль по сути не живем? Выход есть для всех своем. Кто-то курит, кто-то пьет, кто отказ от социала, кто-то ложку над огнем. А мой друг лежал и гнил, с улыбкой на лице. Карамельный дождик капал эхом на весь ржавый цех. И ты говоришь нам за асоциальность, ты псих. А если ты псих, то пойдем с нами.
I think the music's a bit too loud. I'll change it. God damn it. TV needs to be louder though. Damn. Wow. God damn it. I stuck him?
sniper!
You're telling me to check fire, but you're away. I knew he was there, but I didn't think.
Throwing grenade! Oh, movers here! Reloading! Frag out! Sniper's down! I'm reloading! Enemy spot! Sniper's down! Sniper's down!
He looked exactly like the enemy.
I'm on your seat. Drop the sniper. Contact.
God damn it. Damn it. Fuck. Alright. Bruh, get out of the fucking engine. Oh, shit. God. Ah. God. Okay. God. So I can even make fire. Damn it.
Check fire.
There's just times where I can't see jack shit.
Changing map. Enemy down.
Ah, damn it. God! What the fuck are they all doing? I think my sense is too high. Make it 10. Damn it! I keep turning the corner, I'm going to hit you. Like... Ow.
Sniper's down.
Oh god. Oh. Fuck, my back was sort of what's it? Oh, he just hit me in the arm.
Sniper's down.
Ah! Fuck you.
Sniper's down. Watch out!
Damn.
Watch your fire! Rats roll!
Yeah, watch it when you die. Ow! Oh, Jesus Christ. Ah! Sometimes I just can't aim.
Enemy down!
How the fuck is this working? Damn it! How the fuck? I hate this fucking lucky headshot.
Approaching from the rear!
I actually kind of want to just run a dual setup of That's it. Not the orbiter. Fuck! It got reset. Alright, whatever. And bink! Ah, fuck. What the fuck? What the fuck? Y'all just spawned in the same spot? I can't aim! Oh, he went fucking. Ah! Okay. Oh, you mother! I didn't know bots can jump around corners now. Okay.
Check fire!
How the fuck?
Watch your fire!
Stop breaking the wall, asshole! Ah. Dude!
Run. Dude! This fucking guy was just eagle, I swear to God. Boy, I knew the cover worked. Boy! Ahead, dude. Like, I don't... Heal. Damn. Ah! I deserve that. That shit. Oh, they're all here. I'm gonna just do this. Maybe some battle rage. Maybe he knew what was happening. Wow, that lag. Holy shit. Fuck! Fuck! This motherfucker is just jumping. Alright, you know what? Fine. I'll jump. God damn it.
This is your brain. This is drugs. This is your brain.
Right!
Your brain on drugs.
Do you?
Be the same.
Damn it! God damn, that was sick. Okay. I think I need to turn off my light, because I'm not able to see fast enough in the dark. Yeet! Woo! That'll be an assist. Bam! Oh, wow, okay. Oh, shit! God damn it! I wasn't expecting another one. I hit the same guy with a fucking throwing knife. This latency. Oh god, this latency. See, my fucking... Oh my god.
damn it.
Alright, hold up. Let me try something real quick.
Let's turn off my lights. How the fuck did he know I was there? He didn't even touch my TV.
Alright.
God damn it.
Fucking thermite. Okay. Yeah, that's fine.
Ah, damn it. Ah, fuck.
Yeah, I guess so.
I'm not a real doctor.
Let me just. Fucking scope. Don't say that again like that. Dude. Oh, I'm throwing lightning. If I just stand here, they won't shoot me.
Just like in Pokemon, you can be the girl in the poker world. This life would be so fun. I'd be a dream boy, and I would make the choice to go and search for you. I'd throw my Pokeball and I would catch
Well,
them all.
hey DBSC, how you doing? Look at what's behind you. Check your fire. Yeah, save your life. You're welcome. Ah! Oh, lane. Gotcha. There's 0. Oh, okay. Ah! Ah, fuck. God damn it. I hope you're doing well, though. Can't see me.
Like a Pokemon.
10 seconds remaining.
10 seconds. What?
I bring you sweets like red candies, level up, and then you do
I'm thinking of what gun companies like use.
It's got me like, yeah, no. Yeah. It's kind of. Yeah, I think it's skill issue. The skill issue for me as well. But yeah, I got a surprise. Let's see. Does that work? Did that work? No, it didn't. Why would it? Wait, I can report this? I can report... Wow, I can report a bot. Why is that possible? Okay, hold on. 5... This game does not know how to do semantics, does it? How about 3-on-3? It doesn't change at all. Okay. Gotcha. Think it'll change when I start it. Maybe. So, what gun should I use? I gotta get going before I can't wake up next morning. Aw, that's fine. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. You're fine. Really? Is it longer? I think, oh yeah, it is longer. That, holy shit, that rifle barrel. Alexa, read my notifications. Wait, which return? I'm gonna go ahead and go to the bathroom real quick. So I'm gonna go ahead and break that. I might change some things.
rainbow girl.
Okay, I'm back. I don't know if I want to run a pistol.
All the colors in the sky remind me of your pretty eyes. Oh, be with me right now.
When I look into the sky, I see the clouds and wonder why I'm not with you right now.
Oh, be my rainbow girl with the colors in my world. And baby, you can see that we were meant to be. You take the shades of gray and make them fade away. You brighten up my day. Oh, baby, won't you stay?
I'll be your rainbow girl, like daddy daddy da, la daddy daddy da, like daddy daddy da. I'll be your rainbow girl, like daddy daddy da, la daddy daddy da, like daddy daddy da. I'll be your rainbow girl.
Do I really want to use a, Gonna be interesting. Yeah, that's stupid.
Oh, be my rainbow girl with the colors in my world. And baby, you can see that we were meant to be. You take the shades of gray and make them fade away. You brighten up my day. Oh, baby, won't you stay?
I'll be your rainbow girl, like
that.
daddy daddy da, la daddy daddy da, like daddy daddy da. I'll be your rainbow girl,
Ah.
like daddy daddy da, like daddy daddy da.
Oh!
I'll be your rainbow girl.
Yeah, I think this weapon was a mistake.
Enemy combatant spotted. Drop them.
Oh my god. Wait, ah, shit. I did not just no-scope him. Wow, okay.
Enemy down.
I get on the sniper. I'm gonna do the base. Okay. Wow. What is this? Right? What is that guy doing? Pissing me off. God.
Okay. Yeah, just stare at me.
I actually like this though. Can I use the irons?
I'm just standing here.
Stock? Okay.
How did you miss a stationary target?
Wait, I have one more. Alright. Oh god, yeah, I don't want the irons. God damn. Almost gonna have to change the what? Alright. What?
Enemy spotted.
Oh, G13 auto. That's what I was seeing. Okay. Let's see. Oh wow. Okay. Okay.
Enemy
I guess. What if I go without a stock? Never mind. What? Dude, the latency. haircut.
Approaching you, six.
Wow. Oh! I fucking can't believe I did that. Damn it. Damn, I stuck him twice. Bruh. Oh god. The wrong person. Ah! If he wasn't there, it would have been fine. Wait, where the fuck did you come from? I looked at my mini-map for a second to see where my allies are. And I get fucking flanked. Okay, well, don't think me about helping you or anything. But don't worry, I'll just reload. Main target. Enemy good. Fine. He knows I'm in here. Like fucking, yep. Ow! Broke my fucking nose. Actually change to Dragon's Breath and get rid of the stock. Not stock, but what difference that makes. My main acquisition is fire. I can't kill anybody if I don't have ammo right now. I wonder if they can see anything when I hit them with it. I sure as hell can't see anything. Can they see anything? Damn! I don't even think that was center. What the fuck? Yeah, this definitely is better. Probably because I could see where I'm hitting. Is that more spread? Ah! Nope. Okay. Spawn me right next to them. No, I don't like that. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck. Here, have some thermite. Yeah, their body just goes flying when I hit them with it. It's so weird. Does this have a sort of blast radius to it? I feel like with this regular shotgun shells, it's more of a kind of a spread. Now with the Dragon's Breath, it's not. All you have to do is just aim in a certain spot and shoot. Just really awkward. have an idea, but I don't know if it'll work. I'm gonna make the barrel very small. Yes. I can't use the guard because of how short the barrel is. How do I? The better rate of fire? There it is. Alright. Ah! That's what's up. Yeah, I don't think it matters. Damn it. Alright, yeah, let me try it, Make it small barrel and the under barrel. I can't have the other barrel. I can't even do laser? Okay. Can I do... No muzzle. Just short shotgun. Oh shit. Oh yeah, I can only have 3 shells because of how small it is. Damn it. Ah! God, he went to my crotch. I stuck him? I didn't even see him! Ow. Alright, hold on, let me get that barrel back. Chambering speed. That's it. Damn it, I thought it was close enough. Ah. You're a bitch. Damn. Alright, let me equip the suppressor. See how much of a difference it makes.
I see you rising high, ever faster through the
Ah.
You'll touch the stars.
Hey, home.
If by chance you go too high, trust in me, I promise.
God damn it, I knew that was gonna happen. Okay. Hey, buddy.
When I feel your sweet embrace again, take me to that special place again. Apart, floating all the night with you. Heaven is when I'm with you. You are mine, you are mine.
Wait! Did I just shoot twice? Oh my god! Oh, damn it, I thought I turned.
Why? One more. Ah! There should be a thing where it says, 2 kills, 1 shell. You kill someone with, 2 kills, 1 shell. You could do it, it just depends on how credit and how close they are. How much damage you can pop. Ow! Oh shit. Yikes! I'm reloading. How long can I go for reloading? How long can I stay in here without dying? Damn. Ow!
Or it always works out for me. Damn, that 180. Your battery's just done. Latency's a bitch.
Got your six, mate!
Oh my god. That'd be sick if I actually killed her with that. Jump, dickhead. Ah! The moment I turn the corner. One shell is all I need. Damn! What the fuck? I wasn't even expecting to hit it. How the fuck did that work? Ah. Nice. Oh, I fucking. What the fuck? Those were red. And bing! There's another one. It's always the last shell that does it. Damn it! Oh. Speaking of, damn! Okay, yep. Slugs, maybe? Oh god. Okay. Yeah, that's clearly a no. I think you see the real winner here. Damn it. I need one more before it ends. Come here, bitch. Damn. Damn. What the fuck? I still feel like Longer Barrel helps. I could go Longer Barrel, but just without suppressor. So it looks more goofy with the Longer Barrel. I like it. Looks so stupid. Okay, that's gonna be the last. That was really good. Or just, I'll Alright, hope you guys enjoyed the stream. I don't know if anyone else has.
Come one and come all, it's my curtain call. I'm walking.